I'm not going to push a cat in a baby carriage. Or stroller, whatever. I just can't do it. I refuse to do it. What will the neighbors think? I'll look like a nut. The cats get plenty of entertainment. Absolutely not. Today we're going to talk about cat strollers. If you want to introduce your cat to the outdoors slowly, a cat stroller might be just the thing to do it in. It's especially useful if your cat cannot get used to walking with a harness. Some cats just never learn to do that, and a stroller might be the perfect item for them. My friend Jenny has a cat stroller, and we're going to take a look at it and give you some tips on how to use it. My name is Francisco, and on this channel I work with my 3 cats, Calypso, Skyfall, and Mr. Muffin, to help you improve the lives of your cats. I have a confession to make. I didn't push the cat stroller. My friend Jenny did. I just can't get myself to do it in public. Maybe I should try harder. If you have any thoughts on that, comment below. So the first thing is, let's take a look at the stroller. It is pretty much like a kid's stroller, except it has mesh all around it. So your cat can see out but can't get out. There are several ways to put your cat in, but I would suggest that the first thing you do is you leave it out. Leave it out in the open with the mesh open so that the cats get familiar with it, and sometimes they'll even jump in and sleep in it and get familiar with it. This will be the easiest way for you to get them into the stroller. Some cats do not like to be put into things if they are not familiar with them, and they'll resist. Jenny has also added a pad inside the stroller just to make it a little bit easier to clean. There's also an area underneath where you can put some of your things that you might need as you take them on the stroll, but also there's a cup holder. The only thing I would suggest is don't put any hot liquids in there, just in case there's a spill. And it has these locking wheels in the rear so that it won't roll away accidentally if you have stopped for something. It's relatively easy to fold and unfold, and if you're familiar with kids' strollers, you're probably familiar with all of these features, except maybe for the mesh. Although, for some kids, maybe the mesh is not such a bad idea. It's big enough to hold 2 adult cats or a whole litter of kittens, but for this video, we just took her cat Fluffy out. There are several types of cat strollers. If you look for them online, this one seems to be pretty well made. And if you're interested in this particular one, I'll put a link to it below. It costs about $75 at the time I'm making this video. Okay, so why would you want to take your cat out for a stroll? The first and most important thing is additional stimulation. Cats that stay indoors all of the time get bored, and they need additional stimulation. So that's a great reason just to do it, especially if you live in an apartment. Secondly, they will start getting used to the outdoors. Indoor cats that have never been outdoors, some of them get completely freaked out when they first venture outside. And if that first venture is because they've dashed out the door, they might just hide under something, get under something, and completely freak out, and you'll have a very difficult time finding them because they are stunned a little bit. This is a good way to get them used to the way the outdoors feels, the sounds, the wind, etc., without actually having to walk them if they are not ready for that. It's not perfect because they're inside the stroller and they have mesh all around them, but it's a little bit closer to being outdoors than to being only inside your home. Another good idea is that when you are walking them is to speak to them and actually use their names so that they get used to the sound of your voice outside. Hey Fluffy, you doing okay up there? Our voices sound different inside than they do outside. And if your cat does get out sometime, they will be more familiar with the way your voice sounds outdoors, and they might be more likely to come out when you call for them. The third reason is because they will start to recognize their home or their building from the outside. This is a perspective that most indoor cats do not get unless you walk them. And so if they do rush out, they might not recognize their home from the outside. But if you've taken them on a stroll on a regular basis, they will begin to recognize the way their building looks. They'll begin to recognize the neighborhood. They'll begin to recognize the smells and the sounds of their home. Now, the downside of that is that they might start demanding that you take them out. They will start making a fuss if you don't, because they begin to enjoy the additional stimulation. Okay, so if you do decide to get a stroller for your cats, here are some tips. First, put them in and take them out inside your home. Do not do that outdoors. Do not do that with the door open. Make sure everything is zipped up and that the door is closed until you are actually ready to roll out. Put a collar on them with your phone number and their name. They are very unlikely to get out when you are strolling with them, but crazy things do happen and it's better to be safe than sorry. Thirdly, at first, don't take them very far from home. Adult cats get anxious when they are far from their home, and it might cause them anxiety if you are suddenly start rolling away from where they live. You might start by simply sitting with them outside your steps and letting them get used to the atmosphere around them, the air, the wind, the sounds of the neighborhood. And then once they're used to that, then take them a little bit farther. Start strolling down the street. If your cat starts crying, don't force it. There's no reason to get them stressed. This is something to help them, not to stress them. A second tip, don't stroll too fast. Cats can get motion sickness, especially if the ground is uneven. So go at a reasonable pace so that your cats won't get all bumpy and start to dislike it because every time they go on a stroll, they get motion sickness. If you have steps, figure out what's the best way to get them up the steps and in the door, some kind of system to do this, because you will not be able to collapse the stroller before you get in. Unlike a kid that you can take out and collapse the stroller, you can't do that with a cat inside. So I think a cat stroller is a great idea, especially if you live in an apartment. Now, just because I can't get myself to do it in public doesn't mean that you shouldn't, but also don't expect your cats to immediately love it. It might take them a little while to get used to the idea. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.